when you have the secure attachment with your own self, here's when you'll know this quote. The most beautiful moments in life are moments when you are expressing your joy, not when you are seeking it. Sadhguru. Thank you, Sadhguru. Okay, so with that being said, those who have their 1 year old know about having joy because of aliveness. Okay, that's aliveness because restorative embodiment, self awareness, and experiencing it right here. And then it's because of integration of brain. Prefrontal cortex, no trauma charges, no insecurities, no low self esteem, none of that. I am a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, and I'm a functional adult, and I'm a woo woo pseudoscience lady podcast host because not everybody believes in mystics, but also because of human spirituality elements, bringing them together, supporting people who want to do personal development and self-help, so emotional self-regulation, accountability, awareness, with the mental stuff too. Some people call it emotional intelligence. I call it mastery. And as a mystic, 5D mystics, come on over. Spirituality awakening, Kundalini awakening. No ego, death, dark night of soul for the ones who do emotional stuff. So yes, we have a 1 year old, and that's why we use the bright sides of neuroplasticity and attachment trauma informed. And I have a lot of courses, so many that I will not remember all of them. But the difference that you want to note is this. If you have the capacity to know that powerful emotions, they can feel like irrefutable facts, Kristen Linguist, effective realism, but you know my emotions and thoughts are not irrefutable facts. My beliefs are not irrefutable facts. Nothing that is you coming up with your own subjective experience in life is irrefutable facts. You also know we all have, again, a self. The self is you, use your human name. You have an attachment system like I do. So the first year of your life counts for that secure attachment that we're talking about right now. So I'm a whole securely attached 1 year old. That's why for the solo polyamory community, we have our own capacity to be safe havens and secure bases. When you're this capacity, it means like when I have my panic attacks, I'm able to regulate myself. Secure base, 24 hours, busy with everything and anything. Ask anyone you want about how my 24 hours are spent. So those 6 basic emotions, they're not suppressed. I have a relationship with my emotional plane. That's why I don't have laundry. There's a Zen master out there. He's out there for the human suffering love group who need to hear that emotions are laundry. They're not for those of us who have a window welcome. So our basic human emotions, we all have them. Anger for correction, sadness for connection, fear for certainty, happiness, disgust, surprise, and all of our lovely emotions. The lovely psychologists share that we have 3 parts to them: a subjective experience, a physiological response, and a behavioral response. And so when you do know there are brain circuits for these emotions, I know some people say that our brain doesn't have an emotional circuit, but they don't know about the ones who talk to you about the circuits of emotions, like Daniel Siegel, neuroscience, neurobiology, interpersonal neurobiology, is where I learned about the brain and the circuit emotions that he talks about: anger, sadness, and fear. And that's because of our first year of life also being full of emotions. Okay, so if you're not securely attached, you're going to have childhood trauma, childhood developmental trauma, and your emotional body is going to be disconnected. And to regain that relationship is going to take some time because you're going to want to learn what your window of tolerance is and which emotions do we handle effectively, which ones do we not. And, that's why we want to make sure we work all together. I'm a Reiki master, so I'm part of the holistic practitioner group. I support as a consultant, as a content creator, again, personal development. I'm also an attachment, again, updated person. And then there's the tarot for channeled guidance at times, and channeled guidance, and Akashic record reader. So integrating a lot of different planes. I'm still working to get my mindfulness and what's the other one? It's a certificate from one of my lovely courses, and it's 2 life coach as well. But I don't use all those titles, even though I just did. What I mean is that I support people want to be their authentic self. And all of those aspects support me to support you, but also to be respectful of all, remember that we have theologians within the Christian community that are saying that Reiki is not a good energy because the theologians build qualitative analysis. So with their bibliography, they're saying, that Reiki stuff didn't get our seal. And so, we have groups of people that need to be told so that they can make their own conscious choice. Insight, empowering, knowledge, sharing, we're a community. And that's why our political, religious, and any of those belief systems do not take precedence. I'm friends with all people. Then again, I'm not friends with all people, but what I mean is that I am welcoming to all people to interact with them. It doesn't mean that I'm going to want to hang out with them, okay? And here's where our time is limited. Love is infinite, as the polyamory community knows, but time is not. And so we're going to build a home with people that want to walk a walk with us and talk a talk with us. That means vulnerability, authenticity, and everything that you are, you bring it in an effort to move into your authentic self, though, not in an effort to project. We have people who will live human suffering love narrative, and that's not our crew, okay? Our crew is we can achieve love, and we can share that, and that's by being safe haven, secure bases in our body. And that's because some of us, we got lucky. I know I did. I have no feeling of shame or inadequacy. I know how to handle people. And if people come to me with anything, I've always learned how to say no with a respectful tone because I got taught by God how to be humble and by Jesus how not to cast a stone. And when I did cast a stone, it was because I said good and bad with the meaning of it, with intention. Because I was a child growing up who got taught good and bad. In fact, that's what I told myself. I said, okay, you learn, Maria, but who taught you the words? The grown-ups. Why did they teach you? Well, because I didn't know good or bad, and it's important for me as a child growing up to know the difference. Let's look at the bright sides and the dark sides of neuroplasticity for a moment, and then we'll continue. So, when people understand that the neuroplastic agent of choice is imagination, they'll stop chit-chatting with their brain in negativity, and they won't talk about toxic positivity. They'll talk about the land of neutrality and kind intention so that they can say, hey, body, we're safe. No need to be in fight, flight, fright, freeze, flop, drops, attach, cry, collapse, submit, please, appease. There's no threat in front of us. We're having what is called an interaction with another human being. They have no weapon in their hand. So when a person can begin to say, hey, emotions, you're not irrefutable facts, hey, thoughts, you get to start using this. And imagination, you get it out. You don't interpret a facial expression, whether it's neutral, positive, negative. Stop chit-chattering. We're not here to do any of reading another person's mind. We can speak. Okay, so building genuine connection means I'm present, I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving of you. I interact with you. So the bright sides of neuroplasticity, this is an infographic from NICABM. You can look it up on Google and you'll find it. Neuroplasticity makes your brain resilient. Neuroplasticity enables you to recover from stroke, injury, and birth abnormalities. You can learn new ways of being and responding to conflict. In many cases, you can also overcome depression, addiction, obsessive-compulsive patterns, ADHD, and other issues. Then we have the dark sides of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means the brain is always learning, but the brain is neutral. It doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It learns whatever is repeated, both helpful and unhelpful. Thoughts, actions, and habits. Therefore, neuroplasticity may entrench depressive, anxious, obsessive, and overreactive patterns. And that's why Dr. Daniel Fox, he helps people with personality disorders. He's an expert, and he talks all about split thinking, black and white thinking, how the overgeneralizing and assuming, so reading people's minds, not something positive to do and stuff like that. Okay, and then Dr. Daniel Siegel, he is an expert in a lot of things. I learned from a bunch of his courses, and I'm going to read, though, something from my Poly Secure book, and that's a really good read for anybody who wants to learn about secure attachment styles and polyamory and to be able and actually know that there can be a mismatch of attachment expectations. So secure connections versus securely attached relationships. Secure connections, we're going to share moments in life and enjoy each other. secure attachment relationships, we're going to decide that we want to support each other, safe haven, secure base. So to feel safe in our nervous system, to be seen, to be soothed, to be safe, to be securely hugged in moments that are, life. And then secure base, let's appreciate, hey, what's going on? I want to hear all about your stuff. You want to hear all about my stuff. And that's where we continue to do that. There's no lows in this group. This group, we learn emotional window welcome, or at least your host, that's what I get to bring. Why? Because your biochemistry in your secure attachment, restorative embodiment, self-awareness is the capacity is to sit in your emotional plane with what is an emotional, mature, mentally mature, integrated brain. That's why it's physically possible for you to be in a flow state. So I'm not going to give you half. I'm going to say this is possible. I can share with you at my age of 8, I felt emotions and thoughts as irrefutable facts. This is one of the memories I have. I learned that it was not true, and that was it. It was with one of the fights with my twin, and my mother explained, and that was the last time I can ever think of having the thought that I was actually for real disowned. Okay, and that's probably why I was like, okay, wait, that's not true. That I was able to not revisit ever again that something that I'm feeling that is upsetting is a truth. uh, all those moments. See, I'm lucky. I got to go all the way through all those ruptures and all those repairs with my twin. We can thank her. You've seen her. She's on some of the YouTube videos on here. Okay, so earn secure attachment. That's for people who didn't get securely attached in their first year of life. They can earn it. That's through teachers, friends, lovers, mentors, and therapists and other relatives, okay, who can empathically resonate and securely bond with the person, and therefore they can assist them in adjusting the attachment category and or style towards becoming secure or more secure. The self, which you have and I have, will develop earned secure attachment through you making sense of your human story. Okay, so that's why here, the 5D mystics, we build 5D relationships. The 5D functional adults, they build also those relationships. We don't go on else's journey. Everyone has a 0-1-year-old, and I cannot regulate your 0-1-year-old. You can regulate it, and I will allow myself to say, I'm going to be your inspirer. You're going to be the one who motivates you, because there's plenty of people saying, I'm not going to do mindfulness. I'm not going to do meditation. I'm not going to journal. Everyone's fucked up. So I don't want to get out of my avoidant attachment category, because why should I? I'm doing a great job already. And you know what? People who smile, they're all pretending. They're the most depressed of them all. Yeah, I saw a lady, basically. She's nice. I like her, but I'm like, okay, that's a lame excuse, adolescent. An adolescent brain is 12 to 24, and an adolescent brain that doesn't move into a grown-up adolescent brain loses their emotional spark, their true connectivity to others, because they're not connecting to themselves. So they lose the emotional spark again, because they're going to say, nope, all's fucked up. So I'm going to keep the laundry in my body. See, there's a Zen master. He says it. Not going to go and be creative with my thought process and keep on working to get my neutrality up to bliss and me up to why bliss. Because again, like the Sadhguru quote, joy can be within you. When you're in your restorative embodiment and you're securely attached with your 0-1-year-old, you enjoy being with your own self. That's why the solo poly, I'm good by myself. Doesn't mean I want to be by myself. I'm good, meaning happy, entertained, in a good way. I'm always blissful. In fact, here's the deal. I want human love people around me, because anybody who brings me a problem for every solution, and I want to say humans suck, life sucks, people suck, they're not, they're cramping and crapping on my intellectual and emotional vibe. And I want people who expand. In fact, I love having my academics and my intelligent, emotionally and mentally speaking, proactive, loving people, because they're all about getting into their aliveness. They're not leaving their inner child alone. They're not abandoning themselves. They're learning how to be their authentic self. It's an honor for me to meet all people, but it's an honor and a pleasure to see those who save that which is life inside of them. When I have to deal with the ones who want to tell me life sucks, humans suck, it makes me think of when I was a teenager, and I learned that people will say, I don't believe in God because evil won. And I learned how to say, that's because some shit happened to you that you're saying to me you don't believe in anything beyond this life and that you don't believe in people. I think that's called a trust break. You can heal that with the bright sides of neuroplasticity, or you can wire it in shut and live out your own life with that. And I'm going to have to be, if you can't say something nice, say nothing. Take a little bit of dice, and I will. And God taught me to be humble, and there you go. I'm doing it. Jesus, I won't cast a stone. I'm so not, I haven't cast a stone. I've learned how not to, because this is open hearted. We don't affect states of consciousness. Thank you, Sadhguru. This is what it means. Now, again, remember, people will be like, nah, that's bullshit. Bet she's hiding who knows what shit. I'm used to that. I was a teenager. I saw all of them. Okay, so with that being said, here's where, when you put your story together, you will be able to know how it affects your present relationships. And you will say, okay, I don't want it to affect my present relationships because I'm going to become my inner child adult. And that's why we have people like Patrick Tiahan, who talk to you about the past, is the expert. The inner child is the expert of your past. You want to bring your adult into the room so you don't bring your attachment stuff from home and your trauma from home into the relationship. Okay, so that's why when people are motivated to be their authentic self, they say, hey, I want a healthy self-worth partner and partners and relationships overall. Partner doesn't mean anything necessarily, okay? We build a herd, Pacha, Cusco's, all of it, but we getting Pachas to come on over so they can have human love in their body too. Okay, so telling your story is very important, that which will have been unspoken, and telling it to oneself to feel what has been unfelt and to bring love to what has seemed unlovable. So a person who does not have secure attachment, they have to have room for their self first and say, I am lovable. I do deserve to be seen. And every time they do that, it comes up. That 0-1-year-old. And that's why Patrick Tiahan, as he shares, you can't magically heal your inner child away. That's why a Reiki practitioner who's responsible, an Akashic record reader who's responsible, a tarot card reader who's responsible, a holistic and spiritual and mystical practitioner who's responsible will think, let me keep looking into being human. So there's a lot of different ways that I didn't know anything about this thing of trauma. But I knew Reiki doesn't heal, it supports you to expand. At a certain point, I'm like, okay, they keep talking about the same thing, the 4D collective. They're missing something. And then I came across Bezel van der Kolk. And I said, okay, now I know. And Peter Levine and Stephen Porges. I was like, okay, now I know what ascension energies bring up. And as long as people don't want to meet themselves, show yourself, I'm dying to meet you, and they want a mantle, well, they're not going home, and they're not working on the stuff that comes up. So we're going to leave the mantles alone. Okay, so when you welcome yourself home and you're able to describe your painful past experiences and craft them into a narrative that makes sense to you, that is when healing occurs and your brain will be rewired for more secure functioning. This is what Daniel Siegel's research has shown, and it also shown that when it comes to a main predictor of a child's attachment category, that it is not whether or not the parent has had insecure or secure attachment category, but whether or not the parent and or parents were able to make sense of their own attachment history. Okay, so when parents had trauma and attachment insecurity, but they were able to create a coherent narrative of what they went through, they were then able to break the cycle of attachment insecurity, like transgenerational trauma, basically, and to easily get past, or that it passes down from generation to generation. Yes, so with a parent who doesn't basically remain ignorant of their attachment category and or style, they're able to not carry it down to their child. And so the child and they have an earned, secure stance. And that's why, as Patrick Tiahan points out, he's happy to see his son growing up in a child-centric environment, okay? And so adults, when we experience relationship traumas, painful breakups, or losses, creating a coherent narrative about what happened is just as indispensable for our healing and integration. So when people have relationships that are romantic and they make sense of it instead of doing what teenagers did, and I saw them all grow up, they're going to not say, I don't trust men, women, or Maria, other people. I'm never going to love again. So what you do learn is that, at least for me, that people who do not have the capacity to be their authentic self and know their human name and their attachment category and their behaviors based on their own attachment category and child parts, yes, they won't know how to be consistent. And that's why for a empowered woman, discard, rejection doesn't mean anything to us. Betrayal, meaning here, you didn't make me less worthy. It has nothing to do with worth. Whatever your behavior is, I didn't know what it was as a kid. I just knew lying means you don't have the courage to tell me the truth. And as Patrick Gian, cowardice, it's emotionally lazy people. Today in 2024, all the great therapists, they're all out there sharing with people, you're all healable and you can be people in relationships. So human love narrative, come on over so we can be here for those who are having a really, really tough time. The groups that are having a tougher time, I'm going to say antisocial personality group. And that's because people stigmatize them with demons, devils, evils, and all those movies that do not create a voice, nor do the mantles of mental health people who have sales pitched titles such as, here's stories of how to be immune to narcissists. Here's stories to how to go and get under the skin. And you see people who want to come to me, by the way, when they're doing it with their little mantles, and tell me about how they got rid of some energy vampire, dark aura, or person. And I say, I follow Jesus. I'm attachment trauma informed. I don't say it this way, but basically I begin saying, here's a deal. Those attachment categories I'm learning about. Okay, so we're going to get to one story before I let you go. So, in and out behavior. It tells me that we have a person who doesn't know themselves, and they have a 0-1-year-old who's not securely attached. So they don't know joy within themselves. They're seeking joy. But you see, their seeking is a 0-1-year-old that has been in a habit of actually doing what you see them do, because once they became an active adolescent without having any attachment security, now they have a social system. Now they're looking to their peers, but without a sense of identity, because they don't have a whole self. They don't even have a self that knows they're lovable. They have a self that feels like a piece of shit. So now they're going to get into peer pressure. And their brain is actually quite inclined, or what's the word? There's a primed, or the brain. So the brain, the way the brain works, let me go grab my notes. This is Daniel Siegel, because this one's really important, because the reason why adolescents get addicted to drugs, alcohol, the fucking thing, even though grown-ups can use the dark sides of neuroplasticity and they completely wire themselves shut. This is a whole other story. We won't go there. That's just sad. These are people with money. They have education, meaning they got degrees. It's not about the degrees. Actively a person not looking my herd and what I'm doing. So without self-awareness, saying it's all your fault. I'm the one who's right. Spiritual bypassers, they do this. Yeah, I've seen that. And then they wire themselves into a maladaptive child pattern, adaptive, with fucking, drugging, drinking, and saying they're right and that everybody else is wrong. And they'll say to you what activities they take part in. They're all loving the nature, the environment. They're doing yoga. Here's our mantles of yoga. Whether it's it's always going to be a mantle when you find a person who's not taking ownership of what they're bringing to their herd. So when I get told by my herd, hey, you're bringing, I say, okay, what am I bringing? I'm telling you I don't have time. This is not me bringing. This is you wanting to allocate time that is limited. I have a busy schedule. This is a very different thing. I will not be acquiescing. Okay, so there's equations that I will say, if you tell me, okay, you know what, this way of talking, and I try to work with the talking thing, always. That's because I care about how people feel. So if you tell me I'm feeling upset, I will see if I can work with you. And if I can't, here's what I'm going to say. I can't work with you. I understand you find it I cannot speak the way you want me to speak, and I cannot use my 24 hours in the way you're asking me to use my 24 hours. Here's my negotiation. Here's what I can do. It's going to be clear. I won't be in and out. So a person who's here, again, will notice how people don't take ownership for stuff, but we will leave it alone because Pachas don't lecture Cuscos. Okay, but here's where the adolescent brain, so from 12 to 24, the adolescent brain is driven to connect with each other, and there's waves of emotions. We all will remember. I remember closing in on my prefrontal cortex and getting out. It's amazing to get out of the limbic system. I stopped venting. Nobody supported me because they're like, "You're human." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the point. I can do it." Okay, so when you want to do emotions because you can mature them, emotional intelligence, mastery, a lot of fancy words just to say, again, it's emotional depth. Okay, here we have driven to connect with each other, dealing with waves of emotions. To avoid the waves of emotions that crash into them, we can help people learn, and teenagers included, adolescents, how to surf the waves in an effective way. Okay, so social engagement teaches us ways in which we can and we want to authentically connect to each other, to be seen, to be soothed, to be safe, and that is also to repair ruptures when they happen. Okay, so healthy self-worth women, men, and days, we know how to do this. Whether you have a whole secure attachment from the beginning or you earn secure attachment. And when you learn that people are not pieces of shit and you stop dehumanizing it and dehumanizing people, because there's misanthropists all over there. They're all over the place. Oh, I can't trust anyone. I can't trust anyone. They don't know you can trust people, but if they're doing inconsistent behavior, there's a reason. It's called they don't have secure attachment. You're making up an excuse for them. No, I'm giving you an explanation. It's two different things so that you don't have to ruminate and create a narrative of something you don't like that has just happened that is not true. The narrative is you don't like what happened, fair and square. You don't appreciate how you were treated, fair and square again. Let's stay in line with our prefrontal cortex, inner growth mindset. Let's not go offline in the structural dissociation. You're going to start looking like the squirrel from Cusco land. You're going to be on Elsa's journey in a minute. Okay, so making sense of a breakup, of a discard, of a trust break, all of these. This is very straightforward for a person who has a whole self, who knows I'm not afraid of being inadequate as an adolescent. Okay, so your social engagement, your social system, social engagement system is our ventral vagal nervous system. Attachment system, social system is where I'm gonna organize my words. I believe it's social system that comes online at this very age of our 11, 12, and we're gonna look for our next style of parenting group. So for me, I learned that they're not reliable. I'm going to rely on me. Why? Because moody teenagers are unreliable. It's not personal. It's not this. So I just learned, okay, these people don't know how to use their emotions or their words or their thoughts and to be objective. They have an ego like I do, but they don't want to say so. So I'm just going to learn how to be me. They can be them, and we can keep on enjoying each other. And so I learned how to consistently work with my safe haven, my nervous system, my embodied brain, secure base, my 24 hours, go off and have fun wherever I want and however I want, not how others want. That's an independent solo self, knowing though I'm going to build a herd, and so I built my herd. Okay? Not because you're alone. Solo poly is because we don't build a couple-centric life, not because we otherwise wouldn't be polyamorous. Okay, so as I was reading, repairing ruptures, very important. I am easy with that because I have a twin. And again, that's where the 0, 1, 2, 3, never feeling inadequate or alone. So that's something to take into account for my story. You will know your story. Novelty seeking is also what is going to be taking place because of this shift in the dopamine system in the brain that is driven for reward, which also makes addictions more likely to happen during this adolescent, the 12 to 24. Okay, so there's a release levels that are higher and the baseline levels are lower, and these are notes, by the way. And so this also hyper rational thinking, where you think only positive outcomes of decisions are going to take place, no negative ones. That's for some. I would calculate all the potentials, and then I figured out you can't calculate all, so I said 99.99999%. I can try to. And that's so that I could make sure I'd put all the pieces in the puzzle where I was headed in life, which worked out really great for me. And that's why consistently you move ahead in your journey. And we conclude with novelty and courage seeking plus creative exploration, thinking outside the box, which is really good because it has us thinking of how we can support the world in new ways. Okay, so emotional spark, social engagement, true connection, novelty, and creative exploration are part of the adolescent mind. And the grown-ups who have it, studies Daniel Siegel is saying, are able to be a lot more creative and have an energy. It's called aliveness. Okay, and aliveness is because of being securely attached. So, all people who have the desire to get home to their authentic self, the ones who have a tougher journey, they have good therapists, and then they have people that want to support them because they're motivated to move into the human love narrative. Is how I'm going to conclude this episode. And here's where the ones who come to us with the dark sides of neuroplasticity and then they continue to wire themselves into their story, what happens is their adolescent brain stays an adaptive child and they know everything and their energy levels drop. And it's not something funny at all. And it's not something that you say, let me dehumanize them or categorize them. They're not stupid. Nope. They're not stupid. So the part of having 8 billion people out there is one. Having movies that are shitty is two in my book, but there are people who say we want to be entertained. And so let's create relationships in the real world with people who have secure attachment and or want it, because this is a part. Your 0 1 year old is waiting for you to get home. Mine is fine. And enlightenment soul age group, we don't have laundry in our body because you got a brain. So however many ways I'm going to be able to share with you, I got lucky. That's how I'm going to put it. I got a twin, I got a mom. So I can say that I'm lucky because there are a lot of people who say, your smile, it's fake. You're hiding shit. You know, they love to think that emotions are something that one will hide. I'm like, you don't live in my fucking body, but hey, you know what? I learned as a teenager, I'm not going to try to prove anything because my teenage boyfriend, he gave me a very, very important interaction. And my regular listeners know it. I'll share and then I'll let you go. But so I grew up with Jesus and God. And I learned about how people don't believe in God because of what happens of sad in the world. And I said, that makes sense because you can't see God. You can't see, in fact, consciousness. It's not a problem for a divine feminine. That's why 5D mystic is different than those others. And that's why divine feminine, I still am working to become more into, remember, Maria, we're all a big ball of energy, which is why I'm telling myself that right now in fragments of each other. And so let me keep on that leveling in the equation of humility and straightforwardness. No, Kali, we don't need you. Shiva, come in. Krishna Lila, keep on joining us. Okay, so this is how you regulate your own inner world as you engage in talking about topics that are personal because they're important. And so every human being to me is important. Your life. I didn't need Sadhguru to promise to unconditionally love all 8 billion and growing people. I already had Jesus taught me and God taught me. And then again, I got lucky. My mother taught me as I shared a womb with another human being. So I got taught. And then I got to live a life that began and continues with love. And so when people want to tell me that I'm hiding shit and that I don't know my unconscious, it makes me laugh inside because I'm used to hearing people do that. See, this laugh is because if I went back to think about all the times my 3 year old's like, okay, no, no, no. It's a 3 year old. It's a fun 3 year old though. And so my fun 3 years of age didn't go away. I got to choose. I made choice points. And that's because Jesus told me, Maria, forgive, and they don't know. And then my heart said, it's true, they don't know. And then my heart said, also, why would you not use me if others don't know how to use their heart? Is ridiculous. I know how to use it. They don't. So I keep my heart open. Why would I shut it? It would mean that I don't want to love. I do want to love. I love all the time. Okay, so it's an equation of called inner conversation with a left mode and a right that see each other. That's a default mode network, down regulated. I'm not scanning Maria and other. I'm not needing you to say, yay, Maria, my 0 1 year old. It's like I already have my secure attachment and I have a twin. I'm not alone. I'm wanted. I'm flawed and perfect and I'm wanted. And my twin put up with me and I tell her I put up with you too. So just because I was the one who was a bit more demanding doesn't mean that I didn't put up with you. So that's where I got lucky. And as I was saying, when I hear divine feminines saying that they are so because of Claire's, well, A person who is a divine feminine is a nurturer, which is where it's in our nature to want to tend to people and to support the infinite potential that every masculine, and that's why that rabbi, he got one thing for sure, at least from my experience, wrong, and that would be that a feminine has pain in letting go of something. Nope. No, no. When we see a person who commits to their human suffering, yeah, there's a way this goes down. I was a teenager, the teenage boyfriend story. So he tells me, and we have this huge argument, and this is an argument. And I'm thinking, I'm going to marry this man one day because he was the one I was going to marry. And he is telling me that everything I believe is because I'm afraid of dying. And he's telling me with that effective realism, I could tell because we were arguing about this. And that's the day one I learned I'm not proving my heart to anyone. Two, I don't give a shit what you're saying. And I can't even believe the audacity of you to claim to know like this my faith out of your mouth, which FYI in my brain already knew why this human being was bringing to me there. I don't believe in God. You do, but why? Because something awful happened to him. Yeah, he lost a friend. And he got to see this friend as this thing happened, which I'm choosing to not expand on. And I knew that. In my leftmost thinking, I know exactly what you're doing. And my heart's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, this is not something I'm going to mention because why would I? And I also know the herd family. And so I also know what we got at home, which is another addition to the data. It's they don't believe either, and they got a similar story going on. So okay, I know exactly where your story is coming from, and you have the lack of audacity of ability to be a subjective human being and notice that what you're doing is saying, I'm going to say to you, human being, why you believe, and I'm going to say that it's fear, and I'm going to make it a statement. And so again, you get to keep expanding. It's not changed. I learned a lot of valuable lessons, I have to say. And I don't even call them lessons because I had fun. The entirety of my life, it's fun. The only part of this spirituality awakening and Kundalini awakening and everything in Ascension Land is panic attacks. There's the one part of all of my experience. There's no ego death. There's no death night, dark night of the soul. Every time these 4D mystics keep telling the same story, I'm like, what the hell? Doesn't anybody notice? They're on Elsa's journey. And then I'm like, oh wait, there's a Zen master. Okay, so people who are not comfortable with doing emotions, they act and to me sound like consistent adolescent teenagers who didn't say, wow, life gave me this thing. It's a bit challenging or more. So again, secure attachment lady. If you need to earn your secure attachment, I totally know it's a different journey to get here, but it's a journey that can be done. And so, what I'm trying to share with these stories is I get really passionate, but I get really humored as well. And then I get really like, wow, how many more of people want to keep on blaming someone or something for why they're not learning how to harness their own human being brain? Am I overestimating the capacity for you to use your brain? Nope, I'm going to say no, but I do know from my wise somatic therapists that I learned from in a couple and or more of my courses that getting out of dysregulated and modulated embodied self is really hard. And I am going to always try to remember I got to perceive a sliver of what is called the trauma charge, trauma memory, trauma, like when you have an emotion that didn't get to be explored from all of you as you were growing up. I know why. I've shared the story before, and I do need to try and remember that one because, see, that's the part that I do have the embodied knowledge, and that's why it makes me sad. If I think of people who don't get home to themselves, it doesn't make me mad, it makes me sad. So, on that note, I'm going to go and we're going to have another episode. But yeah, a person who loves to be human, it's because I got lucky. And then I got to continue educating myself because I want to help people to be their self, which is easy for some of us. And I didn't need, again, Sadhguru, but I love that he has all people that take his Shambhavi Kriya, promise to love 8 billion plus growing people. The minute that I was having this opportunity, I got teary eyed. And then a second later in my head, I'm like, how many people are going to remember that they made this promise and do it? And I still wonder, because there's a lot of mantles of mental health and the mantles of yoga and the mantles of spirituality. They all are out there yelling. I don't see them loving all people and knowing how many need secure attachment, healthy self worth. They follow princesses of goddesses of Venuses who make bullshit, cover pages. I'm just saying, whenever you need to highlight what self love is in a way of making it look pretty, I know that you're attracted to what your eyes see. And that's one of the indicators to me that we got lost boys, lost girls, and lost days, because the only reason you're going to be navigating to anything is based on your own curiosity. And if your curiosity stems from wanting to look good, that's called I want to belong to a herd. And anyways, that's a side note, but that's my personal thought. People who care about learning, they're not caring about what it looks like, and they're not using sales pitch sentences. They're actually, one, looking into information in a very specific way. Obviously, they're going to want to resonate with the people, and that's why we watch all, right? I know I watch a bunch of different people, but I'm not attracted by that which has. I'm an online marketer. I forgot to mention that. And I don't do the sales pitch, because one thing about misinformation, it's not only that we have Wendy's and Peter Pans out there, is that we have people who just read a title and then they say, you know what, I found out from this person who has these credentials and those, that this is the way to do it. But actively, they will read a statement. So to me, you take seriously what you do and you don't make it into sales pitch. You don't use buzzwords. You don't make it because it's trending. No, you make and create content because you care about what you're creating. And again, I know all people will care. This is the other part. We all will say and feel that we care. You're going to know somebody cares when they're open to all information. The minute somebody is wanting to share with you how to do it their way and their way alone, that's an indication. If they get rigid and or chaotic, so they get agitated when you say, you know what, I'm going to second guess you. I'm going to tell you you're wrong, but not the wrong part in the way of it's more of I'm going to ask questions. And see this where when you get asked questions for curiosity, you're going to know that. You're also going to know when you're getting asked questions. Oh, actually, this is a different one. Okay, I'm going to go now. So we'll have another episode. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. And if you want to share, if you found it valuable, helpful, again, we do inner growth here. You be you, I be me, but it's called the Secure Attachment Empowered Human Love Story. So it's only if you want to do emotions and thoughts, if you want to support all of humanity, not just some people. You don't want some mantle, because we don't do mantles. Of course, it's important to present information certain ways, but I'm here to support humanity as a whole, not to look pretty, although, of course, I want to look decent. Oh, don't get used to the fancy setup, because I changed location. We might end up having phone again, and, anyways, just remember, I play it by ear. There is a plan. The plan is to inspire you and to bring each other together and to tap into the infinite higher human conscious potential experiences. Human evolution and consciousness, science and spirituality, they come together. 5D mystics, come on over, and that's for those of you who are called to, because seriously, I don't even know where to begin with 4D. Oh, I don't know what to say about this, but I do know our timeline, so I'm not surprised at where we're at. I try to not talk too much about this timeline, because when I do, some people I notice they are not able to handle stuff. So, on that note, though, if you're a mystic and 5D and you do want to discuss in a way that's expanding, let yourselves be known, because as we get to our 1K, we will have membership content that I will gladly embark on for people who are 5D mystics. And I will know who you are. And it won't be if you're a special key, that's for sure. So, I will be back again with more. Thank you again, and see you soon.